The turning of the stars bring a time when my secret can give you immortality. But when that time is past, those fleeting minutes gone, the secret is worthless. Till once again the stars unlock its power.
All right. I am live and using OBS this evening. So I want to give a big shout out to everybody who's already here. Loco, Hank Hill, Leeds, Adam Young. That's what's up. I appreciate you guys a lot. I was on Issa's channel a little bit earlier today, Flat Earth Court. Had a great conversation about, of course, legal, philosophical ideas that he likes to discuss. And we were talking about Crow 777 and this modern day book burning situation that we're finding out here on YouTube. And we kind of hashed it out quite a bit. So I don't know if you guys heard that earlier. It's over on Flat Earth Court. But throughout the day, I've been listening to some other hangouts. It being on a Friday night, it seems like I was over at Jed's hangout just a moment ago, and he's pretty much wiling out. So I wanted to do something a little bit constructive and come over here and talk to you guys about several topics.
When that time is past,
so
those fleeting minutes gone, the secret is worthless.
I'd like to get some input on, throughout the night. I'll kind of bounce off the chat. Oh, 1 second. Let me make sure. So then, by the way, it's the first time I'm using OBS to stream from my computer. So just keep that. Usually I use another. I use the Hangouts and then I do it a little differently. But so this is the first time using that. Anyways, tonight I'd like to go over back through my past 3 videos. I've been touching on a lot of religious and spiritual matters, and with that, it's interesting. As soon as you start talking about those things, you get very polarized views. I've had a couple good Christian friends of mine appreciate my exposition on these matters, and then I've had some literally accuse me of practicing Luciferian fallen angel doctrine, which I would like to kind of speak about those things, because there seems to be a lot of confusion. I spoke to Cat Earth last night and had an outstanding conversation. And mind you, this was private. I didn't speak to him publicly, but I spoke to Cat Earth last night about his faith, and he's kind of more of a biblical literalist, and he has the precept. Well, the notion of all you need to do is believe on the death and resurrection of Jesus, and that's it. The faith over works doctrine, and it's overly simple. You don't need to worry about anything besides that. Now, I disagree with that personally, and I think that, well, without getting into like doctrine or whatever, I'm just kind of telling you about what had happened, with the conversation with him. We had such a very positive and productive conversation throughout the night, but, I espouse kind of a Gnostic perspective in the sense that I feel that the greatest spiritual truths are going to come from within. It's just that simple. It's funny because that set of people would call that prayer. God will work through you with the Holy Spirit. You just need to pray and you'll get the answer. I just say it's meditation, prayer, Holy Spirit, I guess, spirit. But it's a process of introspection, of going within, and we call this intuition and discernment, and this exists, and it mainly exists in a person who has those channels open up on the right brain. And I think a lot of people don't. They don't have that open yet. That might be a lot of what we call waking up. Is that new channels are being established. We are in this left brain prison where we think only analytically linear, step by step, and which is great. That's how we build the mechanical world. But if we don't possess the abilities to think abstractly and exponentially and synchronetically, which that is what the right brain is about. I think if we don't have that, then we do live in almost a concentration camp of the mind, which is what Aldous Huxley called the left brain prison, essentially. And I think that we're there, unfortunately. I think that we're very close. I would say 80% of the population, at the very least, especially the male side of the population, is there. They are in this left brain prison where they just consume entertainment and they go stimuli to stimuli, which is essentially their egoic responses going from one thing to the next to the next. It's almost like a left brain and an emotional circuit that they're running. But before we go a little further than that, I want to give a shout out to Silver Wolf and Flat Earth Math. I hope you're doing well, Charles. It's been a while. Also, Mr. Smith, it's good to see you in here. I see that you've been going over to Jeff Doherty's channel, or you may have been going to Heidi's, because, oh my God, Heidi's worth going and listening to, that's for sure. She's fantastic. But Jeff Doherty, he is, and even if it's not of your, for other people listening, check out a guy named Jeff Doherty. He comes from a Gnostic perspective. Very active on YouTube. He does 3 or 4 shows a day, just short shows, where he comes on live and discusses biblical matters. He used to go by what's called the Christian whistleblower, and just absolutely phenomenal work. And I've been learning quite a bit from him. Now, of course, if you're of a biblical literalist perspective, just know going in. If you don't want to listen to it, then don't listen to it. But this is where I think that drawing the line in the sand is hurting everyone. I don't, the flat earth community, you could argue, has suffered tremendously under this drawing a line in the sand, saying we're biblical literalists over here and everybody else is Satanist. Oh, especially if you don't say the name of God correctly, and if you do, it causes so many problems. I don't know if anybody's been here since the beginning. Well, actually, Timaeus is here. Shout out. Stephen Chess, I know you've been here. Lampshadius, I know you've been here from the beginning. Oh, shout out Solomon. Silverwolf, I know you've been here from the beginning. Leads Rules. You guys, and Hank especially too, you guys, when we got here 3 years ago and we began looking at these topics, what was crazy is the amount of cohesion that existed. And I think even Flat Earth Math might even be able to, admit to this. The first year of people researching these topics, either it be flat Earth or geocentricity or the validity of heliocentricity, it doesn't matter. When people were going through and researching this stuff, we all knew everyone's spiritual and religious and philosophical beliefs. Like, we knew them just kind of implicitly, and we accepted them. We were like, oh yeah, well, you know what, this person is this and this person is this, but you know what, we have a more important truth that we're pursuing right now. It is not the time to draw lines in the sand and to disrupt this potential flow that we're in. And it was amazing. It was really amazing. And now some people were suspect of other people and things like that, but if you recall, the first year there wasn't any problems socially. There just wasn't any problems. And So what I'm saying is, when you look at what goes on in these communities, it doesn't matter what community it is, because it was from everything in the 9/11 truth community to the flat earth community to every community does this. They split on religious lines and spiritual lines. And I think that's the biggest problem. We should be able to I don't have a problem either. I like the guy the guy I did the show my show with here, Science versus Scientism, uh, Quantum Eraser. He is a strict biblical literalist of a Christian worldview, and I absolutely love speaking with him, and I've learned so much from him. And I don't hold that position. I don't hold that position. It's difficult for me because I have a different set of educational facts, so to speak, that have led me to my conclusions. But we have no problems. We have zero problems because he's grown up about it. I'm grown up about it. He's never tried to cross the line and be like, well, you can't believe that or you shouldn't believe that. But then I've had people in my life in the past, recently actually, who have said, you associate with this person or you believe this way, so I cannot, I can't listen to you. I can't have a conversation with you. And this is what I'm saying. Like, there are spiritual and physical lines essentially being drawn within each community, and it's on spiritual matters. I did the last video that I did, I stated that, I am a Christian in the sense that I have accepted the notion of the Christ, or everything that Christ means, into my heart, and I consider it what is being told in this book to be the most valuable archetype in the West. I accept it in an intellectual and a spiritual way. But that is too close to, I guess, a Gnostic perspective for some people. Shout out Twitwit. It might be more than an hour. You know how it goes. And it's unfortunate because I think there's so much to learn from even people who oppose you, even people who you don't even agree, you won't agree with. It's and no, I do not have a Facebook. YouTube and Hangouts, Google Hangouts, is the only thing that I use. And so actually, Hangouts is the best way to get in touch with me. Or if you'd like, I can give you my here. Let me put my email out there for you guys.
Burning of the stars bring a time when my secret can give you immortality. But when that time is past,
so here, let me bring it back real quick, because what I do want to mention, Jeff Doherty, he runs a Gnostic channel, and I think that he's well worth listening to. He's not into like the hold on a second. What the hell? I don't know why it jumps to that. That is so strange. Let's see if this is working properly. Sorry, guys. Like I said, OBS for the first time tonight doing the stream. So, okay. Check out Jeff Doherty. I'm going to give him a shout out for sure. I've learned a ton from him. He comes from a Gnostic perspective. He's not from that mentality of like Yaldabaoth and like the ancient, Sophia story and all this. It's just a very simple thing. Is when I say Gnostic, I have a Gnostic perspective. I just simply mean to gain spiritual truth and information by going within. That's it. That's all it is. And there are people like Michael Heiser who agrees with Rome and designates Gnosticism as the religion of the fallen angels. And I understand why. But it's not necessarily the case, because there are multiple levels, not levels, but there are multiple types of Gnosticism. There's pagan Gnosticism, Christian Gnosticism, Rosicrucianism is a type in itself, and all these other little mystery schools that existed before Christianity was a religion. And I just think that we need not be afraid of knowledge, need not be afraid of information. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's frustrating, because I've had people who I've considered friends say to me, Chris Monet, you said that I sent people into a toxic trap. And who would that be? Or what would that be, rather? The notion of inner gnosis, of going within to find your connection to the Creator, because you are a divinely, I mean, you are the physical manifestation of the Creator itself. Every one of us is. Every piece of life on this planet, plane, or whatever you want to call it, we all have the connection to the Creator within us. And in order to get to that, you go within, you introspect, you listen to your right brain, you understand your ego, you discipline your ego better, you understand the different archetypes you express and the archetypes that you seek. And when you do that, you have a better connection to the Creator. So with all due respect, Chris, what do you mean that I've just sent people into a toxic trap? Because I tell people to look into other bits of information that might have good information in it. Okay, Lamp Shadius, you say here, tell us one single objective, practical, application, useful thing that your Gnosticism does for you or anyone, please. I just explained it, literally. What I'm speaking of is what I would just, gnosis just means knowledge. And the implications of the word gnosis means to go within, okay? And that going within is introspection, meditation, prayer. It is a turning your attention inward. It is a quieting of the mind. It is an understanding of ego. It is a humbling of yourself. It is a connection to the Creator. There is so much that you gain by going within, that's practical, that's objective. And those are applications that are absolutely useful in your search for the Creator. And you use the New Testament and you understand what Jesus was telling us. And no, it's not basically Buddhism, Charles. No, this is the New Testament's information. This is exactly what Jesus was telling everybody to do. Chris, you think that Jeff Doherty is the biggest charlatan on YouTube? Are you serious? The biggest? I'm sorry. I'm just utterly confused at this moment. Were you one of the videos I saw that exposes him? Actually, hold on a second. 'Cause I saw a Jeff Doherty video of expose. This is funny. Exposed. Now, I don't endorse everything the man says. He's very good at explaining his perspective well, and he's got good information. Let me see here. Is it? Oh, well, I'm not going to get caught up in it. Well, forgive me, Chris. I'm sorry that you don't like the person I'm recommending, but it's just information, you see? And that's really my point that I'm making. You've drawn a line in the sand over this. You've drawn a line spiritually and physically here. And I'm not saying anything, but it's fine. You have every right to say that. And you probably have very good reason that you would say such a thing. But over the past 3 months, I have not. I can see why somebody would say these things if they disagree with him on principle. If they don't like his perspective, I could see that you would get very angry with him. But forgive me, Chris, I'm not trying to tell anybody to follow anybody. I'm saying that he's, in my opinion, he had some good information, and because the only reason I brought him up, yeah, I know, tough crowd, is because of Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, I saw him over there last night, and I think it's good information. Well, no, don't take me wrong, Chris. I didn't mean like you're angry at him. I don't know what your deal is with him. Why is it that you think that he? And honestly, I don't even care. Like, I'm not defending him. You have your opinion, Chris, and I'm sure you have good reason for it. So I'm just going to leave it at that until you can show it to me. Whatever. Lampshadius, you say you can say it's useful to yourself, but doesn't make Gnosticism special, superior, or verifiable. It doesn't need to be. I'm just talking about a method. I'm simply talking about a method that I understand, that I've found to be useful, that I feel is discarded by people who say, don't look over there, that's the great heresy. You see, if Rome told me not to look somewhere, you better believe I'm going to look there. I'm just going to put it to you like that, okay? Rome went around and killed the Chaldeans and the Essenes and the Gnostics, the pagan Gnostics, the Christian Gnostics, the early Christians. They went around and killed those people because it didn't match with the church that was forming at the time that Rome was backing. Those were the early Christian mystery schools. And what has happened is over the past 2,000 years, they have existed through orders such as Rosicrucianism and, well, just Gnosticism in general through a variety of different ways, and several other things. Oh, I'm sorry, Lampshadius. Did I miss the context there? Excuse me. 1 second. Let me go back. Okay, so people say, it's just Lampshadius. Okay, people say drugs, sex, music, dancing, sports, rock climbing, Islam, Wicca, reading good books, 1,000 other things give them enlightenment or peace or whatever. That wasn't objective. And then he goes on to say, you can say it's useful to yourself, but doesn't make Gnosticism special, superior, verifiable. Okay. Everything I said still stands. I mean, that's the thing. Is like I don't like anybody who considers Gnosticism a religion. I'm not talking about that. That's the first thing. Okay. When this is where the problem has come in, is all the myth and the religion that surrounds this stuff. It totally saps the amazing spiritual knowledge that one can gain by reading the Gnostic or the Nag Hammadi texts. You know, I don't care if you agree with the conclusion. You don't have to. But there's information in there that you shouldn't shy away from, or the Apocrypha, or Enoch, and Jubilees, and Jasher, or the Old Testament with a different perspective. That's all I'm saying. It's like there's much to this. And I feel that, unfortunately, so many people have disregarded this stuff out of fear. Out of fear, because they're of a biblical literalist paradigm, perhaps. And with that, it makes it so that they're not allowed to look at it. It was called the Great Heresy, deemed by Rome in 305. You know, they burned all the freaking texts. Some got hidden in a cave somewhere, thank goodness. But let me go up real quick. Quick change of subject by Dave Sims. Mr. Sims, what are your thoughts on Eric Dubé? I feel he articulated so well, and if it wasn't for him, this thing would not have exploded almost 3 years ago. Yet rarely give him credit. Well, the thing about Dubé is, you know, the information that he put forth was essentially like David Warlord Scott, you know, from Terra Firma, Robotham, Henrietta forget her other name. There's several prominent books from the late 1800s, early 1900s, where he essentially, I don't want to say copied, so I wouldn't say he copied them, but he built on them heavily. And when he put it into those formats, the 200 proofs, it was really 100 proofs from Robotham, and they added 100. And then those he kind of took, here and there from Scott and, all of these other people. And these books are phenomenal. Like, they're very interesting. These people firmly believed in what they were saying, and I think Dubé does believe in it too. But where the problem came in for me, because mind you, this, I don't, we'll get into my views on the earth here in a moment. But concerning the past 3 years, I was totally open to it, and I was there from the get, and I was on board because I found it interesting. Now, I've called myself a flat Earth apologist this entire time. I've never said that the Earth is flat at all, and I've never said it's a sphere. I've never said it's concave. Never said it's anything, because it was more of a searching out. I didn't know, and I don't like dogma, and I wish all sides to be truthful and honest. That's really what I've always pursued out here. So with Dubé, when he started to get mainstream attention lightly, there was a couple articles that were written about him. He slammed down the 3-hour documentary, The Jew World Order. I mean, he couldn't wait to just put that down, man. And then he did a couple interviews, and he started mentioning the Jews. And the thing is that does not help anyone. He's a smart man. Doesn't matter if whatever he said in there is somewhat true, and any variation or any degree of it that might be true. It doesn't matter. That's what made me highly suspect of him, of what his intentions were. And that's when I left him alone. Never looked at him again, because I don't trust it. Now, he could have been forced. His hand could have been forced, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know the full extent of it. But yeah, I would say most people got their information from him, and he did a good job compiling that information and making it into a very reasonable exposition. So yeah, I'll give him that. Let me go back up here. Yes, Bruce Banner, thank you so much. Bruce Banner, big shout out here. He said, if you are literal reader of the Old Testament, you have to conclude that the Old Testament God is not the Father of Jesus Christ, and was most likely an archon. Now, whatever you want to call it, archon, it doesn't matter. You could say demiurge, you could say archon, you could say false god. You could really put any attachment to that. So you could say the adversary, Satan, Saturn. The synagogue of Satan is his people. You could say all those things, because the Old Testament God does not match up with who Jesus. And this was a hard thing for me to reconcile. I think it's a very hard thing for people to reconcile all my life. I saw Rob Skiba 3 years ago explain it that, the fallen angels came down and they impregnated women, and this is why I had to flood the place. This is why they had to go kill the Canaanites and do all this and all, because those are the Nephilim, and we had to get rid of this, and it's just explaining away after explaining away after explaining away, trying to show the rationale of the genocidal violence of a God that requires blood sacrifice and genocide, murder, and the smell of flesh upon his nostrils. It didn't make sense, even with his story. It was a step closer, but it didn't make sense. It was not until I began reading it more literally and began looking into, first of all, where did the name Jehovah come from? Going back to the original names, you would say Vadhe, what was it exactly? The Tetragrammaton, who were these people? Okay, it came out of Canaanite. This was a Canaanite pantheon. Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh was part of the Canaanite pantheon. And then when the Jews left it, they ended up isolating that god. There's a relationship to that god to Jupiter, which is the son of Saturn, essentially. And that's the story of that pantheon. You see a lot of Jews worship Saturn still. They have the black cube on their head. Saturn being Satan, in some references. So when you go and you read Jesus' writing, this states, if you see me, you see the Father. Nowhere does Jesus state that he's of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. Not that I can find. Maybe I'm wrong. If somebody can find that, somebody knows, Lamp Shadius, I know you're very good with this. If you know, if there's a place in the New Testament that Jesus said he was of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh as his Father, please show me. Because I don't want to think this. I don't necessarily want to think this. Oh my goodness, big shout out to Mr. John the Bond. Much respect to you, sir. It's been a while. Hope you're enjoying your vacation or your time frame away from YouTube. We need some more voices like yours out here, we'll say. But Bruce Banner, I really appreciate it that you bring that up. Something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is this: what is the relationship of these Talmudic Semites from the Mesopotamian region of that time frame? What is their relationship to Jesus, essentially? And I think that they're not related. I think this is why the Jews do not accept the story of Jesus Christ, essentially. And yes, it can, John. Yeah, I'm not in the scene of sorts out here. I've just decided to go a different way with my my topics and my shows. I've been covering a lot more like Gnostic concepts and a little bit of spirituality and things like that. But it's it's a bit weird out here. Hold on one second, guys. 1 second. All right, appreciate that. I had to get some water. So this is a big deal for me to come out and speak about this issue concerning the Old Testament and my concerns with it. A question that I've been asking some of my Christian friends is, one, do you trust Talmudic Semites from 4,000 to 6,000 years ago, for one? And two, do you trust Rome? And every time I ask this question, it is no, emphatically, and no, emphatically. And because of that, it makes me ask the bigger question. Then why do you trust the way this book was constructed? Now, I'm not discrediting the book itself. I'm saying that why don't we apply a higher level skepticism? Is the New Testament meant to be interpreted with the Old Testament in this manner? That's the first question I have. The book the writings of Jesus. Just, you know what? That's the only thing I really care about. There's much that surrounds it, of course, in the New Testament, but I tell people, like my brother and a lot of other people, that, you know, they people get so triggered. You start talking about religion or Jesus or anything like that, people just tune out. They just tune out. They run away. They don't want to talk. They think you're a religious nut. Blah 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 blah. But I tell people, look, I don't care what you think about it. Just go read the red letters. Just go read the red letters of the Bible. That's it. Just read that and look at what he's saying to you. He's saying, go within, connect with the Creator. If you had a faith of a mustard seed, you'd be walking on water. You'd be healing the sick. You'd be doing this and more. What are you doing? Why are you following me? Why aren't you doing this? That to me was something I missed when I was much younger in the church. I was a Seventh-day Adventist when I was growing up. When I remember there were on a couple of occasions, I spoke about it in this way, like, wait, is it possible that God's in me? I remember asking my preacher that when I was like 13, and he said, no, 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 no. God's up there, and you accept Jesus in your heart, and maybe the Holy Spirit will come with you. Okay, but that's blasphemous. You can't say that God's in you. I was like, okay, fine. And then the notion of, well, am I going to be able to walk on water or heal people? No, that's blasphemous. You can't do that. Even though this is really what John. Shout out to Flat Out Elected. I love hearing your shows, Rand. I appreciate your perspective, and I appreciate how willing you are to listen to other people's perspectives too. I got to give you some respect for that, considering your worldview. So much respect. Hank, what Cathexis is asking is, why do we allow ourself to limit ourselves to 66 books? Yes, very good. You know, I think that we need to apply hyper skepticism to the book. Now, the argument that I get, my brother, the argument that I hear all the time is that the Bible is from God, and so therefore God can protect it. It can protect his word. Okay. And to me, I know the history of the Bible pretty well, and I know it may sound blasphemous to say I disagree with that, but I don't see any evidence of that. I see more evidence of manipulation, and I see more evidence of just leaving out one book, essentially. I mean, just leaving out Enoch, which I know a lot of people have questions about, but I mean, just leaving out one book changes everything. And John, I'm not sure actually. Timmy, of all people, made it for me. Oh wait, you talking about the intro graphic, or and the Cathexis logo sitting here right now? Let's see what it is. I'm using OBS right now for the first time. That is agency on the actual text in the bottom right, if that's what you're talking about. But okay, Lamb Shadius. Let's go up here real quick. Christ is Yahweh, or Yod He Vav He. Yod He Vav He equals pre-incarnate Christophone. 2, he did say Greek Yod He Vav He as ego am I, or whatever. 3, his own name contains Yod He Vav He as Joshua Yahushua. Salvation, Yod He Vav He. Sorry, Lampshades, this is a bunch of doctrine right here. This is inferences, metaphor, and doctrine. Not metaphor so much, but inferences and transliterations and doctrine. Show me the verse. Show me the actual scripture. He may have referred to himself as I am, but that doesn't mean Yod He Vav He. And it's only Yod He Vav He if you transliterate back to Yehoshua. It was Greek. It was Isu. Iesous. All these sacred namers, why don't they say Isu? Doesn't make any sense to me. Why transliterate it back into Hebrew? There was Aramaic, which was Isa, and then there was Greek, which is Isu. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, John, that one on the bottom right there is agency, is what it's called. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no problem. So, Lamp Shady says, you asked if he refers to Hebrew words in a book written in Greek by a mostly Aramaic speaker. The answer is generally no, and now you know why, because he is, according to it. Is this the real event skeptic? Ronnie, I didn't think you would show up to a satanic shill troll account like mine and listen to me. It is you. Well, shout out to Ronnie. I'd like to thank you for that promotional video that you made of calling me a shill troll satanic something or other. So thank you for that. Ronnie. Jesus. Lord, oh, excuse me. Yeshua. Lord, well, wait, Lord is Baal. So Yeshua, Yahashua, forgive me. Now we're good, right? Now we're good. Uh-oh, there we go. Stream still going. So, Lampshadius says, Cathexis, you are correct. Apparently, he didn't refer to Hebrew Yod He Vav He in the text we have. I gave you an explanation why mostly your question is kind of the wrong question for whatever word it is. Okay, and thank you. I appreciate your honesty in that moment, Lampshadius. Timaeus. Validation boy, validation goy, if I may say. Shout out. Thank you for coming, Dangerous Deceptions. Okay, so I just hope that you guys understand where I'm coming from here. There is a lot of information to take in and to consider and to think about. We're talking about the Bible, the history of the Bible, the creation of the Bible, the books of the Bible. We're talking about the messages in the Bible. Is the Old Testament God the same as the Father that Jesus was speaking of? These are massively important things. You know, for anybody to ignore this stuff in this, man, I don't know. It just blows my mind. I mean, I'm 36 years old now. I ignored it for a long time. And I was an atheist for like 7 years. And, you know, it's been past couple years, but at the same time, I'm studying Vedic cosmology and understanding Hinduism. I'm understanding Buddhism. I'm understanding, you know, all these different cultures, mystery schools like Rosicrucianism. I'm studying all of these things to see, you know what? I think Santos Bonacci is actually correct in the spiritual pursuit, in the way that he goes about things concerning spirituality, this syncretism. This is a Hellenistic view. It's a spiritual view of what you do is you find all of the synchronetic aspects of these spiritual systems, you combine them, and there you go. That's it. That's it. And so that's what I'm doing. And I am very I've had such a progression in the past 3 years that I can't even begin to explain it. And so when I get people saying horrible things about me, essentially, because I'm out here trying to speak my truth, essentially, this is all this is. Okay. There are a lot of people who know me out here, but essentially what I'm doing is I'm speaking my truth, what I've discovered. So grateful for anybody who's willing to listen to me, because this is very cathartic, to sit out here and grandstand and talk about a bunch of craziness. We're learning so much out here with the internet. We really are. I think for the seekers, I think the people who really are searching, I think they really are finding. Maybe there's a lot that isn't, but I think for the most part, the ones who are on the correct pursuit, Hold on one second, guys. Go mobile here. So, one second. All right, forgive the silence there. So yeah, I'm going to be interactive with the chat a little bit more here. Been kind of just getting used to OBS and trying to think of things to talk about. Hope everybody's getting along. Big shout out to Assalamu Alaikum. Much respect, sir. Seriously, I've had one of the best conversations in months with you, and I appreciate that. And Chris Monet, I really hope that I haven't offended you in any way or offended your sensibilities or think that I'm trying to deceive anybody. I didn't realize you had an issue with Jeff. Not that I know him or really care, ultimately. But thanks for letting me know if you think he's a charlatan, I guess. What is this cat Earth map? All right. So, Ronnie, you still here? Ronnie, are you going to retract that I'm a satanic shill for not promoting your 3 mile level water level test? Anyways, so let me go back, I suppose, to the way that I see, like it's actually a very simple process. This Gnostic perspective that I'm espousing essentially is not Gnosticism. I probably should come up with a better term for it. It is simply just going within, finding truth through discernment, intuition, and your own introspection, your own inner analysis. And you take in information such as the New Testament or Gnostic Gospels or Buddhist texts or Zen koans, it doesn't matter. You go and you read it, you interpret it, you go within, and answers are found. It's just that simple. And I mean, if you look at at the core of what Gnosticism is teaching, that's where it is. Go in, find your divine spark, connect to it, and let it shine. Not to be too new agey about it, but that's what it is. And I suppose it's considered the fallen angels' religion because it determines that the Old Testament God is not the God of the world. God of creation. And really there are some issues here because you have Elohim which is a multiple. It's a multitude of gods, Elohim. And then you have it used in a singular. So that's interesting. And then you have, well, good old Jehovah shows up, or Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, or Lord, which is Baal, which is relation to Baal. And if you look at the early Canaanite time, that's where Baal, which is Lord, he was right there next to Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh in the Canaanite pantheon. So, I don't know. To me, it seems like, why did Jesus call the Sadducees and Pharisees the synagogue of Satan? Why? What if they are? What if they are? I mean, it would answer a lot of questions, wouldn't it? Chocolate is trolling hard. I love it. Lampshadius, if that's called mysticism, then so be it. I'm not telling people to draw circles on the ground, magic circles and dance under the moonlight and, utter spells and grab quartz crystals and shit. But I mean, all I'm saying is, I guess it's a little bit of mix of meditation, a little bit of mix of, the mystery schools, I suppose. But let's see, mysticism. The belief that direct knowledge of God, spiritual truth, or ultimate reality can be attained through subjective experience. Well, shit, Shadiest got me. I guess I'm a mystic. I call myself an esoteric Christian. I wonder if that's an acceptable term. Dr. Heiser, I'm sure you guys know him of ancient biblical cosmology fame that Rob Skiba had pointed out. Dr. Heiser, who I respect tremendously, despite his view on this, does consider the Gnosticism to be the fallen angels' religion. That's his words. His words. Lampshadius, would you say the same thing? Just curious. Oh, and I haven't shouted you out yet, Solomon. But much respect. I hope things are doing well for you, brother. And Timaeus, yes, Ronnie is probably doing a live stream about me right now. But yeah, I think that, I don't know. I think this stuff is extremely important to talk about, and it may not be the most most popular or exciting things to discuss. No, I wasn't being defensive, Liam Shady. Not at all. I was being funny. I didn't think that would be the best word for it, but you came correct with that definition. So I guess I am a mystic based on definition alone. I'll shout out Peanuts Clark. Yeah, I'm testing out OBS tonight. I'm wanting to do some more live shows. I saw several live shows going on tonight. It's always fun. I was over on Flat Earth Court's channel. We had a great discussion about modern day book burnings, which is a term that Crow 777. I'll call myself Red Word Reader. I like it. OBS is open broadcasting service system maybe. I think it's a program you run on a computer. It's for free, and this is how I'm able to do these videos in the background while I'm talking, and I have that opening that I use. Let's see. Well, here's the lampshade. The reason why I immediately reacted in that way, which you could put in the category of ego, is back when I was an atheist, I used to be an objectivist, which is the Ayn Randian perspective of you deny all mysticism, you deny all religion, spirituality, etc. But denial mysticism was something that I always had declared about the way I go about things. Now, it was one of the most foolish times of my life in retrospect, where during that time frame I fell on my face more times than I think was even possible. I felt like I had blinders on during this time frame. It is so hard to be an atheist. It's so difficult to be an atheist, and I think you really do put on a pair of blinders when you do it. And so yeah, I think I had a vitriol response, like maybe something in my past popped up there. Bruce Banner, love what Heiser did to Zachary Sitchin's translation. Nut kills me. He doesn't see the Gnostic interpretation. Well, this is why I do worry about Heiser. I'm not kidding. You know, if you look at his association to like his current job on YouTube, I think it's called Skywatch TV. These guys are just pure fear porn money making. They've got 15 different books they're selling you, and they are just selling you this end times nonsense. And they'll never set a date, but they'll always bring up every news story that makes it seem like the end is nigh. And for him to be such an integral part of that, with his knowledge of these eschatologies, of what futurism is, of what historicism is, what dispensationalism is, what all of these are, for him to know that and yet still carry on with this, to me, makes me question him. And I would say that to his face. I would say it to his face. Shout out, Martin. Oh, man. You've been out here for a long time. We got like the original crew up here today. Silver Wolf and Timaeus and Martin, Peanuts Clark. Let's see, ADR. Gosh, so many of you guys. Hank Hill, JLB. For if you like them or not, I love them. Stephen Chet, all these guys been out here since day one. I'm honored. Seriously, I'm not over speaking here. I'm literally honored to have you guys here. It's been on a hell of a ride for the past three years. You know, I'd like to. Okay, this is fair play. Rand. He says we have been in end times since Jesus took his last breath. Okay, what? We're gonna go there. What do you think about the September 23rd alignment that just occurred a little less than a month ago, where the moon was under her feet, clothed with the sun, with 12 stars upon her head, and as she was travailing with birth, with the sun that was going to rule the nations with an iron rod because Jupiter was in retrograde in her stomach, the red dragon perched at her womb in order to eat the child up, but the child was harpazoed up. Now, there are a bunch of good Christian folks who believe that on that day, the tribulation began. The 7-year tribulation began. And what I'm curious about, Rand, is your opinion on that matter, because I truly do respect your outlook. I consider you a very well-researched and very good preacher, actually. I love listening to your well, I dare call them sermons, but your hangouts where you speak on these subjects. So what I'm curious of is did that ever come into your purview? What is your opinion on that alignment? That alignment is not superficial. I can assure you of that. It is a once-in-a-lifetime situation. So I'm curious to get your input. Also, Lampshadius, you as well. And so, and you know, the interesting thing about worshiping the sun, Solomon here said worshiping the sun is intuitive and logical, but it's still a worship of the creation and not the creator, the perpetual conundrum. Thank you so much. I appreciate someone saying that. That's what I realized about most gods if you look back in ancient religions and the old pantheons, they were representative of a light in the sky. They were representative of a planet or a wandering star. Jupiter was Zeus, was Chingo from the African pantheons, was Jehovah from the Canaanite pantheon, was Odin with the one eye of Odin, which is the one eye of Jupiter. Um, so many of these gods are associated with these planets. And I believe that the pantheons of old were worshiping the creation and not the creator. And that includes all the sun worship with Mithras and Dionysus and all of the solar cults that existed. Rand says, setting dates is dangerous. I believe they are manipulating time. And this is where I'm at. I am worried of anyone who sets dates. Well, I want to say that I agree with you, but at the same time, I disagree. I don't think it's date setting. You know, the book clearly says that the stars are for times and seasons and for the glorification of God. You know, I think that recognizing an alignment that matches up with the pages of Revelation, I think is extraordinarily important. And I don't think it's date setting, because none of these people are saying that this is the day that Jesus is coming back. What they're saying is this matches up with Revelations 12. And so, like I said, moon at her feet, cloaked in the sun, 12 stars upon her head, travailing in birth with Jupiter in the womb. And on September 11th, of all dates, Jupiter left the womb. And on September 23rd, the full alignment was there. So there were a bunch of people who declared that this is the beginning of the tribulation. So it's a curious thing. I think it is Jesuit futurism. I think that this was a doctrine that was put into play as a counter to the Reformation by the Jesuit Francisco Ribera in 1593. It's called futurism. Dispensationalism was crafted by the structure. And we have my good friend Assalamu Alaikum in here, who's actually a preterist, who comes from the perspective of more of a historicist perspective. So I respect all these eschatologies. Okay. Man-made or not, God allows or disallows. God's wrath is played out through the hands of man at times. Yes, I would agree with that. Perhaps, and Sir Francis Alfred said here, I set my hope in Jesus for the rapture of the church. Not a specific date, though, but I believe that the September 23rd sign is pointing to its imminence. And I would agree with that. That it is significant. Whatever that alignment was, essentially, if it's the beginning of the tribulation or if it's just another sign of the times, so to speak, I think it's important to recognize. I'm not saying it means anything or it proves anything or it sets any dates, but I think at the very least, it's something to recognize. And so, interesting. Chris, if you don't mind, could you expound on your position a little bit? I don't know, maybe I'm confused because of your disagreements with Jeff Doherty. Do you hold a more biblical literalist perspective, or I mean, not that you need to answer, I'm just curious because you're agreeing with Bruce here that God has no wrath. Oh, that's interesting. Lampshadius, I didn't realize. It says, here is some Gnosticism for you. Did you know the gematria of Virgo is 910? The gematria of Order of Melchizedek in numerology of September 9, September 9, and 2017 ends up being 9/10. No one blocked you, Chris. No one at all blocked you. Definitely not me. And nobody has a wrench in here. So I do apologize if you think that, but I've not blocked you. So yeah, if you haven't heard of the September 23rd thing, or you'd like to hear a little bit more of it, about 3 videos back, actually on 9/23, I ended up. Oh, really? YouTube's locking up the chat. So, if you're curious about that September 23rd day, or at least my position on it, go back and listen to it. It wasn't too long, it was only like 2 to 3 hours. But, over the past 8 months, I have really delved into this stuff very heavily. My last video, I kind of explained my background and how I got here. A lot of you guys have known me for a while, and as much as I've been able to speak on these subjects, I really haven't. Usually I cared about arguing flat Earth or these other situations. So now, and honestly, I'll have to say it was that alignment, the 9/23 thing, that really, really got me refocused. Okay, Chris, I recommended you based on your discernment. Okay. Oh, slow mode on? Here, I'll go fix that. We haven't added any trolls. 1 second. One moment, guys. I'm getting back to my computer now. Okay. Let's see if I can turn slow mode off. So, see if I can do that. There we go. Oh, wow. It was set to 60 seconds. Jeez, guys. My bad. Slow mode off. There we go. There we go. Yeah, Twitland, I think Chris might be disappointed. I hope not. I mean, I don't know what I could have done. I do have that effect on women sometimes, I suppose. Okay. So, like I said, the September 23rd thing is important to me. It actually, I don't want to say it woke me up, but it definitely got me interested in caring about this stuff more often, because there really is something to it, and I don't think it necessarily means the beginning of the literal tribulation. I don't even think that this futurist interpretation of Revelations is correct, and I know that this bothers people. Most people are dispensationalists, essentially, in the Western Protestant camp. Like I said, Assalamu alaikum is a preterist, and I truly respect his position a lot, because he goes against the grain as much as he does. And as for the eschatology, it's blasphemous even for me to say that these events may have really just occurred between 70 and 90 AD, or at the time frame, the generation, the 40-year generation period in which all of this was going on. That's blasphemous to a lot of people, and I don't know enough. I wasn't there. I wasn't. How would I know? How can I verify this? So I ended up, I'm trying to understand it from every single perspective. Here, Solomon's got a great quote here, the stroke of the whip maketh marks in the flesh, but the stroke of the tongue breaketh bones. Many have fallen by the edge of the sword, but not so many as have fallen by the tongue. Ecclesiastes 28:17. Wonderful. Search 910 orders Melchizedek and take first result on start page at least, which is probably just a front company for Google. Them to make euros. Think about this. It's interesting. I'll look this up here. And then flat out elected, excuse me, flat out elected. September 23rd was very interesting for me. However, the focus needs to be on Christ and planting seeds of truth. I agree. I mean, I have a slightly different interpretation of what we call the Christ, though, and this seems controversial too, and it's a bit frustrating for me that it is, because I think that if we believe on Christ, and see, you know what, I don't even really want to get into it, because this would firmly put me, I don't even really want to get into it, because, yeah, I've explained it before. I believe the Spirit of Christ is with us if we ask for it. I don't hold the position that all you need to do is believe on the resurrection and you're saved. I think Jesus was telling us what to do and how to do it, not how to worship him and how to get away with sin, because he cashed it out for you. I don't know. I'm a bit more controversial than that at this point. Absolutely. Overthought. Big shout out, man. It's been a while. I said, do I listen to Marty Leeds 33? Absolutely. And yes, I would say I'm quite closer to Marty Leeds' perspective on the Christ. Now, unfortunately, it gets deemed like New Agey or mystic school or mystery school or whatever. But I don't care. The problem with this, it's not a problem. It's actually great. The more you learn about these things, the esoteric side of Christianity, the more you learn about this stuff, you can't unsee these things. You can't go backwards. You can't. And I'm not saying there's levels either. It's not like I'm further along than anybody else or anything like that. It's just my path has been different. And so the way that I see Christ is as the conduit, not a conduit, but the conduit to get us in connection with our Creator. That's what he was trying to do, was to teach us how and the correct way to be, and the correct way to act, and the correct way to just everything in general. And this is why I think the archetype is so powerful and important. And all of our Western society is built around these ideas in a lot of ways. So that's where I'm at with it now. I would say I do lean towards that Marty Leeds perspective. Daniel Leather asks, are you still a flat earth apologist? I am a geocentric alternative cosmology apologist. Absolutely, always, and I forever will be. As for what, unfortunately, I find flat earth to be is an empty rabbit hole, because even after 3 years, we still have no definitive measurements that would declare it as such. We have a bunch of great videos and footages of, hey, we should be able to see this and we shouldn't be able to see that, and how come we can see this? Got a lot of that. And you know what? Great. Anybody who's out there testing the world around them, I support, and I will absolutely defend till the day I die. I think, though, it's bigger. I think it's about what our place is in the cosmos. I think it's our cosmology that matters the most, and that includes, the shape of the earth, of course. But I haven't been able to confirm it either way. And what I say is, Exactly. Where's the ladder, brother? If you're going to go down rabbit holes, bring a ladder. What I say is this. Now, there is enough scientific information that exists that can lead one to believe that the Earth is a sphere. But you experience it as a level, motionless plane with the sun, moon, and stars moving overhead. I think that is the most accurate and factual statement concerning the matter that one can come up with. And because if you do look into geodesy, if you do look into astronomy, their techniques and methods is essentially measuring a globe. It just is. It's measuring a spherical object. Now, you could make your arguments against it. Go ahead. And I'm for that. I've looked into it, but these fields are very complex and they do require specialized knowledge. And I don't. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good with trig. I'm not good with these advanced sciences and these advanced mathematics and such. I've tried, and it is quite difficult. I've talked to 2 geodetic surveyors before, and they've explained it. It's very simple. If you take 2 theodolites a mile apart from each other and point them directly at each other, the plumb line on those are going to diverge at the top, and they call it vertical divergence. And that measured in arc seconds, essentially, based off of the angle that they are to each other, is measuring a convexity. Have I done that myself? No, I haven't. Have I seen it? No, I haven't. There's a guy named Jesse Kozlowski, who I do recommend his channel. He's a very nice gentleman. He's been doing this for 25 years. He has a very good blog where he shows you his measurements. But even that stuff is above my head. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to say that I know or that I'm smart enough to know. So what I realized is a lot of this is either through ignoring things, ignorance, or denying things. And I can't support that. I'm out here for honesty on both sides. If I hear a baller talking dumb, like ridiculous things that need to be called out, I'm going to call them out. But the same for flatterer. Same for flatterer. Now, as for, let me go back up here. It's also the thing. So is the globe model unfalsifiable though? Well, here's the thing. Saying the Earth is a sphere is not a scientific statement. If you've watched my series with John, you'll understand what I mean by this, is that it is not scientifically, you cannot scientifically validate the shape of the Earth. Because when you say this has been scientifically validated, it requires an experiment. What was your variables? What was your independent variable? What was your hypothesis? So it's completely outside of the realm. Now you can measure it, and you can measure it carefully. So when it comes to science, it's different. We're talking about something different. We're talking about measurements. Is really it. Now, go and pick out if geodesy has a deception in it. Go and pick out if astronomy has a deception in it. I'm not here to be able to tell you I can find that for you. I'm just saying that finding out that it's geocentric is so much more important to me. When we all went down this rabbit hole, whoever did, and I think most of you guys did, the real boon spiritually, intellectually, internally was when we realized we were the focus, meaning us, the species. This was our show, so to speak, that we were geocentric in nature. Either your conclusion was flat or your conclusion was right. It didn't matter. If you got back to a geocentric position, that was the most important facet in my view. And so I think, people get caught up in this, and unfortunately there's too much, oh my goodness, there's way too much dogma. People are just, water's flat, it's flat, checkmate, done. And that's not a good way forward. You know, you're just going too far back. There's good data, there's good information that exists that can give you a better understanding of what we're dealing with here. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible for anyways. Hell, it might even be concave. I don't know. I haven't been able to afford the equipment or the education necessary to learn this on my own. I haven't had opportunities to do it. So after 3 years, I've already moved on. I moved on 8 months ago. You know, um, so and the question here is geodesy and astronomy even scientific? No, they're not. That's and it's so messed up because people will the scientists and fanboys will go nuts when they hear me say this. And I remember when John first said it to me and proved his point, I was like, you can't say that. And he goes, well, yeah, absolutely I can. It's a fact. And I said, dude, no, like people are going to dismiss you out of hand because that sounds crazy. He's like, it doesn't matter. Here's why it's true. Because you can't scientifically validate any of the claims. So astronomy, it's just some guys on the ground looking at lights in the sky and coming up with a fucking story. Pardon my language. And the same with, well, geodesy is different. It's measurements, measuring. So can you scientifically validate the shape of the Earth? No, you can't. You can observe it, and that's it. And the measurements can lead one to believe that it's something. Because if you put the two theodolites a mile apart from each other, you have to extrapolate the math. Let's say you get like 2 arc seconds of divergence, vertical divergence. You then have to do the math on that. On like, okay, well, based off of the distance here and the 2 arc seconds and the divergence amount, and then you extrapolate out what the rest is. But you see, that's even beyond me. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a math person. I can talk and I can read and I'm good with literature and philosophy, but I'm not good with those other things. So it's a frustrating topic. I know all the flat earth arguments, I know all the globe arguments, I know all the concave arguments, okay? And that's why I liked taking the position that I did, as a flat earth apologist. And I still hold the same position. I know why they say it's a globe, and I know why they think it's flat. So I just got to leave it at that. So yeah. But I know it's why we all are here. I know it's how we got here. So I think that, understanding the roots of how we got here is important. And I'll defend anybody who's willing to look into this stuff. It's really important in my opinion. It really is. Any other questions so far? I don't know what topic else I want to go in direction of, rather. Yeah, I'm aware of a Mobius strip. Yeah. Do you think it's Mobius strip Earth? That'd be cool. I do. Oh, and I do want to say, just quickly, I do, whatever the frickin' shape is of this place, I do think that it's a realm. I think that's probably the more accurate term for it. I think it's a realm. I don't think that humans can get out. I think that's what the big fuss is, personally. I think that they couldn't get higher than 300 miles, essentially. That's what all that Dominic and Fishbowl and all the other Russian tests were, is they were hitting the ceiling. So yeah, I think we're trapped in here. And the elite hate it, or the powers that be, they freaking hate it. the whole infinite space is a lie. I mean, it's a story. It's a story at the very worst, you know. I mean, at the very least, it's a lie at the very worst, because at this point, I think they know. All that stuff is probably close and local. It's light years nonsense. It's ridiculous. It's extrapolated. Huh. Lamp Shodia says the Mobius strip is in the corners of the Earth, yet touching, as if hyperdimensional, the mystery of the squared circle. I wouldn't put it past it. Seriously. Oh, sorry. The Mobius strip linked to a 4D circle, the torus, becomes something like wheels within wheels, full of eyes. Looking it up, it's amazing. Easy one angels at corners of Earth wings touch. They are corners yet touching, as if hyperdimensional, the mystery of the squared circle. Yeah, I like it. Shout out Charlotte. Any specific topic you guys would like to touch on? Um, I was saying earlier, Crow 777 is getting witch hunted right now by what looks to be a group of people who are flagging everywhere he goes. ODD received a strike today by having him on. Hori Sheet Show received a strike the other day by having him on. The same with Ty Gorton received a strike today by having, or the other day by having him on. So what these people seem to be, unless it's YouTube, which I don't think so. I think it's a group of people who are essentially following Crow around and then flagging the specific groups of people, the specifics, or channels rather, that he's on, and yeah, it's messed up. It's modern day book burning. Well, Charlotte, I imagine he's made some enemies over the past 2 years. He has a guy who ended up hacking into his website and taking it over. This is like 2 years ago. I want to say it's like crow777.com. But someone took over this website and turned it into this Masonic website and trying to make it look like Crow was a Masonic. Mason had all his videos up and then had a bunch of nonsense about him. And he couldn't do anything about it. And I think it might have been taken down by now, but that was up for over a year. That's where he ended up going with crow777radio.com. And then his YouTube always had problems, but the real issue was when after the Las Vegas shooting, they went and changed the algorithms and they changed the policies. So people saw opportunity that you can flag people now for what they're calling bullying. If they think you are, because you've talked about false flag or some type of aspect that's not the authoritarian view, the authorities' view rather, they can declare it bullying and harassing. And so by doing so, they are getting multiple people struck. ODD got a strike today. Hori, Ty Gordon. It's just, and no, he didn't go after Israel at all. He didn't say a thing about him. It's ridiculous. So I think it's a group of people who don't like him. That's what I think. And that's beyond trolling. You know, that's pretty messed up because it's a book burning. It's a book burning. Damn, overthought. That's crazy. So yeah. I said I was talking to Issa about that earlier today. It's pretty lame. The YouTube is not a place for. I mean, I can get what I want out. I've never had problems, and so many other people can. But ultimately, you can't question the authority at this point. Um, questioning events as if, and I know it's controversial. I'm not talking about auto hoaxing either. I'm talking about just questioning the authorities, declaration. So. So Plutonic here says, here are some Bible verses saying that the Old Testament and New Testament follows the same God. I'm on my phone right now, Plutonic. Can you copy and paste those? Or someone? Shoot. Darn it. No, I'm not drunk. Provocation directed. Why would you ask that? That's funny. No, actually, I do not drink. I think that drinking is not a good thing to do, personally. But um oh man. No drugs either? No, no drugs either. Why? Am I slurring or something? Prevarication detected? Nice. Um, yeah, he's just messing around. So Revelations 22:13, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Okay. That doesn't say Yod He Vav He. Hebrews 13:8, beginning of Jesus Christ, the same yesterday and the day and forever. Okay. Doesn't say Yod He Vav He. Matthew 10:34, think not that I have come to send peace on earth. I have come to send, not to send peace, but a sword. Yeah, that's not very Jesus-y, but and then the Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. That's it's Exodus 15:3. That's not so yeah. I'm not finding anything yet, Plutonic. Whatever. I gotta go back and look at your list. Assalamu alaikum might be able to help. Can you show me one verse where Jesus states that his father is Yod He Vav He? Now, I'm not trying to be rude. It's bothering me because all I could find is Jesus said that if you see me, you see the Father. That does not mean the God of the Old Testament necessarily. Here, let me look up James 4:14. Actually, I just got a new Bible app. Bible.com has a really, really great Bible app that it'll read to you, and you can set it at higher speeds and whatnot. Yeah, let's see. James 4:14. Mm-hmm. And it's free too, and it links up with Google, which is suspect, but whatever. Um, James, yeah. James 4:14. And it says, whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away. Yeah, it's very accurate. Very accurate. Let's see. Shout out to all the people who have shown up, Wanda. Let's see, we got Muzz Buzz, some old school cats back in here. What causes the aurora borealis, you ask? Well, they say excited electron, and essentially our um, it has to do with our sun, solar radiation. Essentially, it's the mainstream answer. Could be something to do with North Pole. I don't know. I mean, the mainstream answer makes sense. When we started having those solar flares a couple months ago, a month and a half ago, whatever, we were having the auroras were actually pushed down to Ohio here in the States. And it's okay. Prevarication asks, why are we reading the Bible? Then he goes on to say, and why do we think the Bible is legit? Okay. Well, my argument has been that looking at the Bible to determine if it's legit is what I'm kind of doing, right? So I believe that the God of the Old Testament is not the God being presented in the New Testament. I believe there might be a spiritual deception there. I believe that the message of the Christ is probably one of the most important archetypally that an individual can pursue, can emulate, can call within, call without, however you want to put it. I believe that it is quite possibly one of the best connections to the Creator, if you understand that. I come from, well, as Lampshadius has pointed out, I'm more of a mystic, and I believe that spiritual truth comes from within by going within. But I do not disregard the words of Jesus. I think that, well, Esau, I'd rather say, because J's weren't invented until the 1500s. So this is all very, it's not new to me. It's just I've returned to this stuff over the past year. Was raised with all this stuff, and then I became an atheist and thought I understood that the whole Bible was a lie and a psyop and all this stuff, and I do think that there's a ton of spiritual deceptions that exist within it, and I believe Rome has a lot to do with that. I believe Talmudic, Semitic people have a lot to do with that, considering the Old Testament. So I don't implicitly trust it, and this is the reason why I'm going over this stuff. Exactly, wake the sheeple here. The Jesuit crypto Jew Alexander Flavius Piso family Bibles. Jesus Serapis / Zeus equals son. Jesus equals Jesus. And he's not wrong. This is the thing. If you go and read Caesar's Messiah by David Atwell, you are going to get a totally different understanding of how the Bible was constructed. Okay. But if you then go read the Gnostic Gospels of the Nag Hammadi Library and you read the red letters of the Bible, there's still tremendous value in it. Okay. I'm nowhere near a biblical literalist. I usually have, you could define as a Gnostic perspective, but I don't think it should be thrown out. And I think that that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, because I think there really is tremendous value, but I think it comes at it when a person needs it, you know, or a person wants it. It's not something. I'm not trying to instruct people towards it. I'm not trying to make people believe in something. It's been more. I've been discussing it with some people tonight who've brought up, specific things, and I'm kind of fleshing out the way I believe on these things because I've been called Luciferian, and I've been called what's the other terms, working for the wrong side. I've been called horrible things by good Christian friends of mine because I don't share this biblical literalist perspective. And to me, it's a bit frustrating because, you should know them by their works, as it say, or by their, yeah. Well, prevarication, he says, Cathexis, I don't understand why we would think the Bible is more believable than the television. Well, I agree. Except when you look at it esoterically, when you get into the old mystery religions of the ancient Christian before Rome took over, essentially, there is a lot of beauty and truth and higher spiritual concepts that shouldn't be ignored. And that's really my whole point. I don't trust it. I don't. I don't trust it as a whole, but I do think that it shouldn't be thrown out. Exactly. Use your intuition and discernment. Well, thank you, Lampshadius. And one of the things that really got me back into this, and actually I talked to ADR privately about this recently, is that I saw a bunch of really good Christian folks go absolutely head over heels about this September 23rd thing, saying that this was the beginning of the tribulation and that they were going to be very, well, they believed it. They believed it was fully the case. And for me, I found that to be dangerous. And I don't like speaking like this, but when, these people thought that the rapture was going to happen on the 23rd or around that time. I knew a lot of Christians who thought this. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give them different perspectives and trying to, you know, elucidate a lot of this stuff to them. But, by doing so, I have to delve back in myself. And yeah, prevarication, have I noticed that the Bible mirrors a myriad of other stories? Well, absolutely. I mean, it's hard to argue against. It's hard to argue against the astrotheological perspective. Okay, that astrotheology perspective exists, and it does match up. I think Zeitgeist was the one that popularized these ideas. Let's see. Lampshadius says Jesus said, probably in Aramaic, recorded in Greek, I am, ego eimi. Before Abraham was I am. Why do you think they picked up stones to kill him? He was claiming to be Yod He Vad He. Your arguments are nonsense to a nonsensical question. Wait, is that directed at me, Lampshadius? Just that last part? Oh, thank you. Well, thank you. Yeah. Um, Okay, I see. I went back up and looked here. Yeah, I just think these things are important to work through. You know, these books exist for a reason, and it's not strictly control. It's oh, nice, Charlotte. Don't forget the elite are very familiar with scripture. Why shouldn't we? Exactly. We have to know what they're using against us, where the spiritual deceptions exist. These books aren't implicitly built for control, in my opinion. I don't think that, because there is a very solid historical record of both the construction of the New Testament and the construction of the Old Testament that is very hard to dispute. And Rome had their hands on it after it was constructed. Now Josephus added to it and they pruned it, and I've got my issues with that. And then of course the building of the Old Testament in the way that it was. I think religion is the problem. The institutions that have surrounded these books are the problem. I don't think that it is implicitly bad. I think that they exist for a reason. These books have stood the test of time. Truly, truly, they've stood the test of time. And so, going back to what Mike said here, um, I forget your name. Awake the Sheeple. Forgive me if you don't let me say your name. So, Awake the Sheeple. He's talking about from the perspective of the Caesar's Messiah. There's a theory in academia it is put forth by Gnostic academics that the Bible was constructed by Josephus after 70 AD, after the temple was demolished, and it was done by the Flavians, and it was essentially a solar cult that was built up around the pagan worship and the pantheon that existed for Rome, in the pagan Rome. That is a solid argument. Absolutely. Is there an astrotheological side to it? Absolutely. Is there a traditional historic aspect to the construction of the New Testament? Yes. It is there and it can't be disputed. So what my problem is looking at all this. We have to be able to discern it properly, but we can't discern it until we know, until we understand it, until we go through this. And I know this stuff's boring to a lot of people, and a lot of people think they're past it and everything, and that's fine. This is just something that has been of interest to me recently. And the one thing that's really, I used to have a really hard time with the notion of the Old Testament God being different than, I was raised in a very Protestant home and then Seventh-day Adventist. And if you were to ever say that, Jehovah wasn't God and that Jesus wasn't representing Jehovah, if you were to question that, it would have been such a harsh rebuke. And I see that today, just by asking the question, is it possible that the Old Testament God is not the God that Jesus Christ is representing, or the Christ is representing, I'd rather say? I don't think it is at this point, unless I can see some scriptural evidence that can lead me to back to that conclusion. There's just too much of a difference between the archetype. There's too little reference to post-Talmudic Semitic cults that came out of Canaanite. I just don't. And I know that sounds terrible, but the Talmud is reprehensible. If you read the Talmud, and me as a bad little goy for reading their book, it's not good. It's not good. And I do worry that what we're looking at here is the God of this world. And this is why Christ said to the Pharisees and Sadducees, you are of your father Satan, which is the adversary to life, essentially, and you are of the synagogue of Satan. Why else would he say it? Why else would he say it? So I would rather be with Christ and be with the God that, or the Father that Christ came from, than to be with one that requires blood sacrifice and me on my knees and you know the genocide of people and the killing of firstborns, and I just don't think they're the same entities. Shout out to Heartline. Much love there. But yeah, I mean, I know what I'm saying there is controversial, and I have some friends who have rebuked me already, some Christian friends who have said that I'm working for Satan by saying that, by just asking. And that's offensive to me because, especially these people who have known me for so long out here. Has anybody ever gotten the impression that I serve a dark master or that I'm intentionally leading people into the wrong direction? It's frustrating to me. Yes, Platonic, but did Jesus say this? I want to see where Jesus said that he was of his father Jehovah or Yod-Heh or the Lord. That's what I want to see. Because I don't trust Saul, or Paul rather. I don't trust him. Saul was a Roman agent. I don't trust him. See, Tower of Babel is how the principalities use language against us. They use different definitions than they give us. All they hear from us is babble when we speak. It's a very good point, Wanda. Wait, Sheeple says, I don't need to know everything about our creator or creators, and know he, she, them gave us everything we need to know inside of us, and knowing right from wrong. The house of God is in us. Absolutely. Thank you so much. That is 111% what I'm trying to say tonight. We just get bogged down in scripture because I'm trying to show that there is some of what I'm saying that is rooted in the words of Jesus. Because if you look at just the words of Jesus itself, this is what he's saying. This is what he's saying to people. You could do all this and more if you just had a faith of the mustard seed. You can heal and walk on water and you do all these things. I spoke to someone last night. I told you, well, earlier, someone I spoke to, and he said, no, that's just poetic license. That's not true. We can't do those things. I had to reply, oh, ye of little faith. Like, that Jesus is telling you the whole time that we're that powerful. Okay. I'm going to change topic. Much, Mike. I really appreciate you. Lampshades. Yes, the kingdom of God is within you. Thank you so much for verification. Someone give me a new topic. Someone give me a new topic. I know Lampshady is. You're quite passionate. So yeah, the ionosphere. What, you want me to talk about the ionosphere? I think that's where the auroras are located, and they're right past the Hyman line. They say it's about 100 kilometers up. So these auroras that you're looking at, I don't know enough about it up there though. We are told we can see through it in only two frequencies. All others bound. No, you're right. No, I agree, and this is what really makes me question these these probes and these Voyager and all of these things, is that we can bounce all of these different frequencies off of the ionosphere, and HARP can do it at high levels to bounce it somewhere else, whatever. But you're telling me a probe on a satellite on Pluto, 3.5 billion miles away, is sending back photos, and high quality photos, and hundreds of them, from 3.5 billion miles away, and then getting back through our ionosphere. I don't know. Just seems highly unlikely. And no, I don't know the frequency ranges, but you're right. We bounce most of everything off of it. So Adam, you're talking about the Pluto. Smart people believe in that. Oh man. Yeah, I think what we're dealing with is an electromagnetic universe, electromagnetic situation. See, and this is why I think that the electromagnetic universe is right about some base concepts, but wrong about the rest of it. Geocentricity is right about some base concepts, but wrong about the rest of it. Flat Earth, in some regards, I would say actually closer with Jaron and Bob. I think they're right about some things, and they have their other ideas. I love Bob and Jared. I'm not disparaging them. I'm just saying that it seems like everybody has a piece of this puzzle. But I think it's, oh, even Sun and Moon Group. I don't really have the patience to listen to those folks, but on the couple of occasions that I have where he's used that 3D program where they've drawn out the toroidal fields and the placement of the sun at throughout the year, and the what it makes over the earth and all of these things, that's what I think we're looking at. I think we're looking at electromagnetic plasma possibly, and that's why I think EU is probably right about stuff. We're looking at plasma in the sky, and I think the sun, all of these, like, oh my God, there's a guy named Dan Dimension, I think is his name. Dan's a sub here too. I hope he hears the shout out. Dan Dimension did that video about the argon gas, or excuse me, the noble gases like argon and xeron and all of these other whatever they are. But the noble gases and the colors they make when they light up through an electromagnetic current. And what he was kind of alluding to is the blueness of the sky is due to the amount of these particular noble gases that exist within the atmosphere. This is what causes the pinks and the oranges and all these different hues over when the sun is going away. It's the frequency. Like the sun is an electromagnetic discharging. It's not giving us direct light. It's our atmosphere is carrying it, where the ether is carrying this. This is why we can't see light. If you look, you can only see the reflection of light. You can't see light. So is it a particle? Is it a wave? This goes down this path here. I really think that he's onto something. Well, Dan Dimension was. So if you guys haven't checked that out, he's got a great video on it, about essentially noble gases in the upper atmosphere. Quanta, what is quanta? A packet of information, I guess they call it. Oh, great. Wait, Sheeple, he's got the video there. If you haven't seen what I'm talking about, here, I'll actually link it, because this is one of the most revolutionary videos I've seen in like 2 years. And it's short, it's quick, and it's just an amazing idea. Let me pull it up here. Yeah, this is it. You got it on your main page. Let there be light. 1 sec. But yeah, I am just blown away by it. Hebrews 1:1-2. Let me see that one. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, thank you for coming tonight. Assalamu alaikum. I honestly, yeah, I know I mentioned earlier, but I want to repeat. I had one of the best conversations I think I've had in a very long time with this gentleman. And I met him randomly in one of those random hangouts. But actually, Yvette, do you remember? Oh gosh, what is his name? Oh, assalamu alaikum. What is our mutual friend's name? I can't remember. My mind is going blank right now while I'm looking for this. Oh goodness, I feel terrible. What is his name? One second. This is gonna kill me. But I know Yvette, you know him is what I'm bringing him up for. Albert. Albert, of course, Albert. Do you remember Albert? Yvette. Oh, if you're still here. Anyways, I went on to a random hangout with Albert to talk about praetorism of all things, and I end up meeting this gentleman here, and I'll tell you what, it's I will say assalamu alaikum. It was very interesting hearing your knowledge base in the privacy of our conversation, but still, and I'm not calling you out. I'm not saying anything disparaging here, so please don't read it that way, or anyone read it that way. But to see you firmly in that biblical paradigm, to me, is actually quite extraordinary. Like I was saying, it's like some stuff you can't unsee. And for you to, and I'm not saying you're unseeing it, you've obviously integrated it in, but I wish I could get back to that point of, I don't know, but anyways, we'll talk about that another time. Anyways, this is the video, guys, by Dan Dimension, and it is really an amazing video. It's only 5 minutes long. You guys should check it out. Actually, I'll put it in the description for anybody later who might want to look at it. Okay, let me go back up. My computer's acting terrible right now. Okay. And I also want to thank Mr. Goodness, where is his full name here? I would like to thank, where is it? Mr. Horse-Wearing People Costume for participating and being very nice, decent, and reasonable. So I'd just like to say that because I think it's the first time I've ever seen that. Just saying. Thanks for not trolling. Let's see. Kingdom of God is within you. Yes, sir. The ionosphere. Sorry, guys. I'm going to get back on track here in a second. Hopefully I can think of another topic. You could be. Well, I've seen a couple nice conversations you've had. Ergo, my people costume. You can be pretty brutal, though. I've seen you be brutal. Oh, goodness. Damn, I missed you. Wait, sheeple. Hey, be blessed, brother. Oh, you know what? Here, I'm going to crowdsource a word here, guys. What could we say instead of saying the word blessed? Instead of saying be blessed or have a blessed day, what is a word that we could say instead? Because I went back and I found the etymology of the word blessed and was disgusted. Okay. It comes from the word bletzian or bletzen, which means to cover someone's face in blood. Seriously. It was a special ritual act after a sacrifice, and it was to sprinkle blood over the face, specifically the forehead. That's where that comes from. And it's a pagan practice. Blotham, Blotzen, Bletzen. And it was originally brought in as a religious rite. from Proto-Germanic Bloodison into the Catholic Church. Yeah, I don't want to use that word anymore. I don't know. Doesn't seem right. Yeah, Adam Young. I like that. I like how you do that. That's yes, Lamp Shadius. It does say the Greek blessed related to the happiness of the gods. So you say be happy or have a happy day. What you are saying now as another etymology is interesting. Thank you. And that's the thing, is like I'm not into blood sacrifice anymore. I'm not into it. I don't want to support it. Well, peace be unto you. There we go. That's fantastic. Assalamu alaikum. That's the thing, is like I want to wish the most prosperous, the most rewarding, the most positive mentality onto an individual. That's what I want to do for people. That's why I was going around saying be blessed. I think that, it's a funny story. The way that came about was when I about 2.5, 3 years ago, I was living in Tampa, and I was working as was just waiting tables, for some easy money. And I remember driving to work. It would be me listening to music, driving to work, going through Tampa traffic, and I started becoming more self-aware. I was having more spiritual, experiences, more, however you want to put it, more awareness. And I caught myself constantly, anytime I got cut off or whatever, I would immediately cuss them out. You piece of garbage, I would just say horrible things. Faggot this, and that, F this, whatever. And I realized in that moment one day, oh my God, these people can't hear me. I'm only saying this to myself right now. It is only my subconscious, my right brain, my spirit, so to speak. That is what is absorbing this curse word. I'm cursing someone. So what I did was I made it reactionary. As soon as I had the impulse just to yell at somebody or scream at somebody, mind you, this is in the car. I don't behave that way outside of a vehicle. It's funny. I would then stop myself and say, bless that person. He obviously is lacking awareness in this moment. So I wish nothing but good tidings, or something along those lines. And I'll tell you what, it changed so much. It changed so much. And it's very interesting. And we got HSP gang up in this bitch, repping with the 666. Now, I gotta say, the number 666 is a very interesting number. It is encoded in a lot of different things. Exactly. Oh, you're still here, wait, sheep. But it's encoded in a lot of different things, and it is not implicitly evil. 666 is related to Antichristos because of essentially Catholic Rome. If you the number 666 is encoded into certain elements of there, and they were called, it wasn't Antichrist, it was Antichristos, who was after Christ, and they played the part. The Pope played the part of that. And so, but 666 isn't implicitly evil. And I got to do more of a study on this. Marty Leeds 33 has done amazing work concerning the relevance and importance of these numbers. So if you haven't checked him out, please go check out Marty Leeds 33. Unless you're scared of numbers, unless you're scared of 33. Yeah, Adam Young knows what's up. He's tip of the beak as a motherfucker. And that's what's up. I know some of you guys hate IPS, which is absurd, but whatever. Let's see. Let me go back up here. But Lamb Shadius, I'm glad that spurred you off in that direction. And yes, ADR, it is a trap language. English is dramatically a trap language. So many places. And Mike, once again, come in with truth. Remember, when you say amen at the end of your prayer, it's praise to Amen Ra. I can't disagree with that. And let's see. So yeah, I don't like saying be blessed or have a blessed day anymore. And I used to hate it when I was a Christian, not a Christian, an atheist. I used to hate it when people said that to me, and I ended up adopting it myself. But not anymore. It's been about a month and a half. I've no longer been saying it. Well, there's nothing wrong with stating the obvious in these situations, ADR. And that's, you know what, see if we bring up such a great point. Oh, and prevarication, yes, I grew up playing chess. So, yeah, I haven't played a long time, but I was in a chess club in school. But anyways, so Wait Sheeple says people should learn them, the scary numbers, because they scare you away from knowledge and keep the sheep afraid of knowledge we all used to have. I think really what he's saying, and I agree with it, is there's a bunch of spookism that has been intentionally sown, a bunch of important numbers. They've been in this box of a bunch of important numbers: 33, 666, 42, 23. All of these numbers, I'm trying to shout out Flat Earthworms here right now. I hope he's listening. All of these numbers have been, it's not just the numbers, there's a gematria behind it. There is, I mean, the occult itself. Like, okay, let's take this for instance. This is going to get me in trouble, but Adam Young got it. Hell yeah. So Baphomet, right? People see a picture of Baphomet and they're like, oh my God, this looks like the devil. But what Baphomet is, and I'm not, I've never sworn an oath. I don't worship that shit. I'm not into it, but I know about it. And here's the thing. It represents the universality of reality, essentially. And essentially, the goat head is a man's nature, okay? The female body, the male body, it shows, the animal nature of man is what the head shows. The female and the male representation is the same sex of God. Like God is both sexes essentially in their spiritual system. The Hermes caduceus, the rising of the Kundalini, the Solve Coagula of the as above, so below. These are the two most important directions of the Solve Coagula of alchemy, essentially. But then, of course, that's why they match the up and down of the as above, so below. This statue is encoded with so much truth about the nature of reality. And what they did is they made it look spooky. They made it look scary. So it's going to scare away all the good sheep. You're going to tell them that 33 is evil and 666 is evil. And you're going to tell them, all of these other things. And it's going to keep, and they call them the profane. They call them the mundane, the unwashed masses. And they do this because there is power in these systems. I'm not saying go for it. I'm just saying that this is what the elite is using against us, are these powerful spiritual systems that they have scared people away from. Why do you think they scared people away? It's because it's powerful. So going back here, provocation detector. Cathexis, have you ever seen shadow people? No, actually, I have not. Now, I have had, what do I call it, sleep paralysis? I had sleep paralysis 1.5 times, where it happened, and thankfully it was very quick. I realized what it was and was freaked out, totally freaked. But it wasn't very long. It was very quick until I came out of it. Then the second time I had already done some research on it and found little techniques that you can kind of break it, or like you can get out of the paralysis. And I was able to do that. And as soon as you look at where the sense of danger comes from, everything changes. The whole feel of the situation. It goes from this terror to this comfortable situation, or at least that's what happened to me. So I was able to get myself out of it. Now I haven't had this happen in 3 years, and so I think it's inner archetypes. There's something going on with the brain that we don't understand. I think that's really what's going on there with that. What does INRI stand for? I believe it's introvert. I think that's the Myers-Briggs test. Let me see. Myers-Briggs. Can't remember the INRI. Is that one of the? Yeah, here we go. Wait, maybe. Oh, Myers-Briggs, not Myers-Briggs. It's the INRI over Jesus's. Okay. Oh goodness, Marty Leeds just went over this the other day in his de-occulting Las Vegas. I was thinking INFP. That's funny. INRI. I don't know. That's a good question. Lampshadius, Plutonic. You have an answer for that? Because I don't know off the top of my head. I'm not gonna lie. I know Marty Leeds covered it up a little bit. Oh man, I hope he's still here. But I want to give a massive shout out to this cat in the chat here named, oh goodness, where's his full name? 1 second. I was hoping he caught my shout out to him. I did it in a unique way. Where is his name real quick? Sorry guys. He might have gone. A bit boring at times. Flat Earthworms. Every single person go sub to this cat, Flat Earthworms. Okay. He has made one song so far. I'm sure he's got more. And it is one of the most unique songs, especially concerning like flat Earth stuff. Honestly, it's amazing. It's and the video's even more amazing. But yeah, so I want to give him a shout out, like straight up. Anyways, Event Septic and the Sleep Souls. Those guys have called me I don't think they've said I'm satanic yet, but they called me a shill because I won't promote their 3 Mile water level. And there he is, Flat Earth Worms. Seriously, everybody check this cat out. I found your stuff, I guess about a week ago. Kyle's been putting it out. I listen to your song at least 2-3 times a day. There's just something about how you put the randomness of it and the esoteric levels of it. I mean, I don't want to overhype it for anybody, but seriously, dude, like that shit is fucking legit. I really appreciate it. We need more esoteric music. You know what I'm saying? Like just on these other deeper levels that people don't understand, so we can communicate to each other. I'm honestly motivated to go do something myself because I work on music too. But anyways, let's see. So let's bring this up real quick. Lampshadius, Mike, specifically ADR, a couple other people. So Ronnie, I've known Ronnie for 3 years. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have never had a bad opinion of him or mean thing to say about him. Or actually, I've been quite very, very honorable and respectful to him. If you actually, one of the first hangouts I did was a 5-hour hangout with Ronnie where he explained his model. I brought him on my channel to explain this model when he was getting laughed off of other people's shows. Literally, Chris Rock had just laughed at him the night before and was making fun of it. And I decided to bring him on. And mind you, the video's hidden right now for other reasons, but I brought Ronnie on, and I really liked Ronnie. I think he is a good man. You could tell, for the most part. Now, I don't know what's happened to them in the past couple months, but something has. This whole, the name of God thing being Yahashua and I forgot the other transliteration. to me is, first of all, to claim that you know the name of God and you can say it, and anybody who doesn't say it or know the name of God is a Satanist, is beyond me. That already is one too far, two or three too far, you know. But then to go and call literally every person out here who is talking about alternative cosmology, who's talking about flat earth, who's talking about any of these subjects, to deem them a Satanist, literally a Satanist, and to it's this, if you're not with us, you're against this kind of attitude, and to call them a shill, and then use SEO, search engine optimization, in your keys. I forget what it's called. They're using like vidIQ basic and stuff like that, and they're putting these words, tags, essentially these video tags, and by doing that, they are, anytime somebody searches Jaren, their videos are going to come up. Anytime somebody searches Cathexis, their video comes up calling me a satanic show. And I'll be honest with you, that stuff is over the top. If they're worshiping Yod He Vav He through the name of putting the vowels in between, right? And what's interesting is this is a Hebrew Israelite perspective, is it not? These black Hebrew Israelites, right? So they've taken this idea, because if you go and you Google Yahashua, or however you say it, right? Hawashai. If you go and Google Yahawashai, you see images of a black man, a big, strong black man, with laser beams coming out of his eyes, destroying his enemies. Literally. This is what you get. Because this is a black Hebrew Israelite concept. But the word itself is a tetragrammaton. It's not even a word. Yod He Vav He is 4 characters of Proto-Hebrew that it was meant to describe. It was not meant to define. So why did they put vowels in between it? Do you know why? I don't. Why would they think that's a good idea? So there are reasons to be very skeptical about what they're doing. And to be honest with you, they have called me a satanic shill or whatever, and he's been completely rude to me. When I've done nothing but be reasonable. So yeah, whatever. I don't know. These guys, I feel like they might be serving a dark master and not know it. I don't know. Maybe this is too far, and I don't want them to take this all out of context. And I'm not saying, but then again, they're calling everybody Satanist. What is it possible that they are worshiping the God of the Old Testament, this one that we've been talking about all night? And by doing so, is it possible that the God of the Old Testament is the God of this world, if you know what I mean? I know that's a hard stretch for some people, and forgive me, assalamu alaikum, forgive me, plutonic, but in lamp shady as possible. But what if that was the case? That they were called the synagogue of Satan? The Talmud is clearly of holy origin. What if that's the case here? That they were possibly... Oh, well, forgive me. Here, let me go back up. You said that you have the INRI up here. Oh, goodness. Wait, the Sheeple said, Adam just speaking truth about the deceived that think everyone is going to Dante's created hell in the 1500s and push the Jesuit end time fear porn. Yes, absolutely. I'm actually really, really concerned about this futurism, this 7-year tribulation. And there is a massive, massive group of Christians who believe that September 23rd was the beginning of that. And so I really want you guys to realize Be aware. Learn to talk to your friends and family. Talk to these people online and make sure they know that this is a doctrine. It is a Jesuit doctrine. It truly is. And Mike, you're so dead on here. So Lampshade, you go back up, says, Iostum Nacar Regis Impios. Jesuit flag, Latin, it is just to exterminate or annihilate impious or heretical kings, governments, or rulers. The Latin version of what they wrote above the cross. Oh, it's Isus Nazarenus Rex Eludorum, Jesus of Nazareth, King of Jews. Okay, so it was a mock. It was a way to mock him. So they put this acronym, so to speak, above their heads, above Jesus's head. Okay. Okay. So, thank you. But I don't know. Oh, thank you, Lampshadius. It's so comforting to see that somebody else understands this. He says, Cathexis, you are correct. There are two Israels. I agree. So, these are controversial topics, okay? And I really, really do care about our friends and family who are trapped up in certain ideas and ideologies and religions and whatnot. Listen, now is the time. Now is the time to shine the light on darkness, to question dogmas, to reveal this stuff. Oh, and Plutonic, absolutely. Jordan Peterson is one of the leading thinkers out on the internet, bar none. Everybody needs to look at everything Jordan Peterson has said and written. Seriously, I can't say it enough. That guy has helped clarify so much in my life. And really, he's just a phenomenal speaker and author, and he's a phenomenal teacher. That's the thing. He's a professor, and he just publicizes everything. He's phenomenal. Gurdjieff is another amazing teacher spiritually. So please, if everybody who's in here listening, listen to Plutonic here. Plutonic has given me so much amazing information over the past couple months. Actually, so much that I can't even keep up with it. But so yeah, I really appreciate you guys sticking with me tonight. I know I'm a bit. I don't know if anybody listens to this later, what they're gonna think of it, because I'm kind of. That's why I'm reading. Oh, Solomon, what do you mean by that? Who are you responding to? You say the left-hand path. Who are you speaking of? And what is your opinion of that phrase? Actually, everybody, I'd like to hear your opinions of that phrase. All right, let's see here. Let's see what we've got here. All right, B-Man 4621. Good on you for being happy, brother. So, Gurdjieff, let's see. Oh, you think Gurdjieff is the left-hand path? Interesting. Plutonic. I'd like to hear your response to that. See, the left-hand path is kind of known to be an occultic pursuit, and it is there are a lot of left-hand pathists, if I could say, that are LaVeyan Satanists and uh, just fall in those camps. Crowley is a left-hand path, considered any black magic as a left-hand path. Um, so I'm curious why you would say that. Is that, and I'm not saying left-hand path is wrong all the time. It's just something. Oh wow, prevarication detector, crucifixion. It's hilarious. You know, what I find interesting about the crucifixion. So they take a cube and they unfold it, an unfolded cube being a cross, and they take the most spiritual man on the countryside and they nail him to that cross and they wave it in front of everybody's face and they say, if you ever fucking do this again, if you ever think that you can rise in consciousness, if you think that you can change the system through your higher levels of consciousness, this is what we're going to do to you. Then they made people worship it, worship the image, so to speak, and they shoved it in everybody's face. And it was trauma-based mind control from the get. That's what I think. That's what I think. Let's see. Plutonic says, if you would like to be on the path of enlightenment, simply study Gurdjieff, Ouspensky, absolutely. Vernon Howard, absolutely. And Jordan Peterson and Jung, absolutely, absolutely. Actually, I'm going to be reading a book tomorrow called Warrior, Magician, King, Lover. And it's not very long. It's only about 35 pages, but it is firmly based off of the works of Carl Jung. And it is a breakdown of the masculine archetypes that exist within our society that we can understand and play into. I think it will be one of the most useful videos I think I'm going to be making. So Lamp Shadiest, I love you, man. Let's see. I have Morning of the Magicians, which he was a partial author and touched on it slightly. Alejandro Jordowski dabbles with it. Mm. And mind you, the left hand, right hand thing is very interesting. The right hand is indicative of the left brain, the linear, the analytical, the rational, the reasonable, etc. I did that video about the left brain prison, stating that most of society lives in this left brain um, way of thinking. They don't have exponential thinking. They don't have, multifaceted thinking, unfortunately. Now, the left brain, excuse me, the left hand is connected to the right brain hemisphere. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but usually artists and musicians tend to be left-handed. About 80% of them. It's a large quantity of them. And they find that the right brain is essentially intuition, discernment, um, very exponential thinking or abstract thinking in very abstract ways. It almost seems like it's a connection to the infinite through my experience. And so the left-hand path, I think, is referring to the infinitude of the right hemisphere of the brain. And there's, it's, high spirituality and the left-hand path sometimes relates to psychosis. I think the psychosis or schizophrenia is the right brain talking to you too hard, and the left brain can't make sense of it. But that's just a hunch. Um, let's see. I am ambidextrous, actually, prevarication. I was naturally a left-handed person, and I'm ambidextrous path, absolutely sober. Um, so I had strong tendencies for the left hand and was more comfortable with it. And my kindergarten teacher ended up suggesting to my mother that I should be right-handed for functionality or practicality, or I'm not sure. And just over it was actually quite a quick adaptation, and I didn't know really, I was 4. And so, but now I'm very weird. Like I lead with my left foot. I kick with my left foot. It's my strong side. Um, so I'm like, I can eat with both my left and right hands. I can write with my left hand, not as well, but yeah, I kick left-footed. Yeah, it's my left side's my stronger side essentially, but uh, there's a TED talk with Canadian neurologists saying the hemisphere role is outdated and debunked. I'd have to see that. I know that there. Are you talking about that the woman who had a stroke who spoke about? I'd have to see what you're talking about. The left-handed type thing crossover for motor control might be true, but the part about art or language and math and logic and abstract, etc., being this and that side supposedly debunked. That I'd have to see because I understand what these people could be alluding to, which is it's not like a strict left brain activity versus strict right brain activity. It's there are neural pathways that are predominantly in the left, but at the same time still reach into the right hemisphere for some things. This is how some people can be gifted at math, but still have more of an abstract concept in their mind. And that's what makes them better at calculus versus just straight algebra. So it's definitely, they're using both hemispheres, but there's a predominance for if I were to be painting and I was using visualization in my mind, that's going to be stemming from my. If you were to do, MRI essentially at the time, or I forget the technology to see. Yeah, I think it's MRI. You would be able to see the activity being primarily in those hemispheres, left brain being analytical, linear, right brain being artistic. But then again, I'd like to see that information. So yeah, you know, we have I think we have a massive task in front of us. I really do. What I think that we are in the shift. We've been in the shift for a long time, and some people say it was started in 2012. I actually think September 23rd was that significant, and that this might be not a 7-year tribulation, but a 7-year jubilation. This might be our moment. And I said on the Lisa's channel earlier today, if we do this wrong, if you and I do this wrong, where we do not shine a light into the darkness, where we do not raise our consciousness and awareness, where we do not inform others in order to help them along their path, if we do this wrong with the technological dystopia that is on the rise, we will see a 10,000 years of darkness that humanity has never imagined. We're talking about such a slavery of control in such a way Orwell and Huxley would blush. It would be insanity if we do this wrong. But if we do this right and we shine the right light at the right place and we do it fearlessly and we raise our consciousness as much as possible, I'm not talking about a new agey nonsense way. I'm talking about learning and thinking and pushing our boundaries and changing our paradigms and really pushing ourselves and learning new things and pushing other people. And if we shine the light on the darkness of the evil that exists in this world fearlessly and we do this right, we will have our 1,000 years of peace. The one promised to us by the Christ, the one promised to us by the Vedics with the Satya Yuga that's supposed to happen in 2024. We have 7 years essentially to do this. Will it be a 7-year tribulation or will it be a 7-year jubilation? I think the latter. But it's going to require us to work very hard for this. And this is the reason why I'm out here. I didn't tell anybody this, but I told a couple close friends of mine, but I had some very weird things happen, internet things about 9 months ago or so, where I had some very, people who I trusted at the moment come at me in a very weird way and make some very, very strange threats to me. Now, at the time, I had every reason to take it seriously, every reason. And it ended up changing everything about who I am, what I'm doing out here, what is the point? What is it that we really should focus on, and as in ourselves, our own consciousness growth, and what should we be doing for other people? Because we don't have much of a window here. We just don't. And I think 7 years is probably giving it too much. I think that we have maybe even a shorter time frame. But it is up to us to do this properly. And it's just going to require what we're doing right now, essentially. And I don't care if it's only 2% of this earth or 5%, as long as it's being done on some level, then I think that we have a chance. We can't use this as entertainment anymore. We have every ability. We have every ability to learn anything, to communicate with anyone, to go in any direction right now. The internet is, yes, it's the World Wide Web, it's the internet. Yes, it's ARPANET, it's created by DARPA and military industrial complex. Yes. Are they creating dossiers on every single individual, and they're linking everybody's, personal, everything, GPS coordinates down to what they watch on YouTube, to every question on Google? Absolutely. Absolutely, all this is happening. To what end? Hard to say. We can't tell. I don't want to be, conspiratorial or dystopic or to think the worst, because I don't. I typically have prospiracies concerning the nature of this place and the direction that we're going in, but we can't ignore it. Now, it is a double-edged sword for us and for the people who are in power, so to speak, that maybe we can cut through their net, their web, by learning as much as we possibly can, by raising our consciousness as high as it can go, and by sharing this with as many people as we can. And I think that we just have a very small window of time at this point. 5 years ago, I couldn't tell you. And I don't know. I mean, some good points are being made here. Assalamu alaikum says, oh, shoot. Good night, Yvette. Sorry, I didn't see it. Assalamu alaikum said, no one is guaranteed tomorrow. I agree. But I still think it's important to care about tomorrow. And, we have a lot of children who, and people who need the future to be better. Let's see, quick, go back. Igna natura renovator integra. All nature will be renewed by fire. That's what INRI stood for? Or was this another interpretation of it at the time? That's an alchemist's aphorism. All nature will be renewed by fire. My goodness. Igna natura renovator integra. Very interesting. Very interesting. Absolutely. Assalamu alaikum nails it right here. The only thing you can do in this world is be the change you wish to see. It's the only thing we have the power to do. If we change internally, then the outside world begins to change. And that sounds disjointed and disconnected to a lot of people. They may not see this in a large scale way, but you know, it's true. It is absolutely true. If you understand how your reality tunnel, your reality filter, or whatever you want to call it, works, and you start pruning out the negative and supplanting that with the positive, you will find your life to go beautifully. And you get what you focus on. You're going to find what you're looking for. It's just that simple. And this is why I'm positioning it in this way. Now is the time to recognize that if we do this wrong, we will have not only a boot in our face metaphorically, but a darkness of slavery that this world has never seen, because there are dark forces who wish to subjugate and control and destroy. There's no question that that is the case. It's powers and principalities. It is the nature of this place. We live in a dualistic realm at the very least of explanation. It exists. And there are entities or groups or people who operate with egregores, these principality like concoctions of subjugative ideas, etc. This is a reality, unfortunately. And if we just ignore that and we just carry on and just, oh, I just want to live a happy little life and not be, worrying about these things. Well, you know what? You might be able to squeeze that out, but not for long. I don't think we have 10 years before this place gets potentially very dark and disturbing. And so I say that if we do this right, and horse wearing people costume, okay, let me paint the picture. He says dark ages were pretty damn dark. Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. The witch burnings and the Inquisition was horrific and disgusting. I can't even watch a documentary on it. It is so dark. It is so devastatingly dark. But what would happen if technologies were developed to keep people alive indefinitely, to upload consciousness into either another body or another machine of sorts, to have full-blown surveillance 24/7, to use possibly, electromagnetic weaponry against specific individuals or groups of individuals. This is all what's capable now, well, except for the consciousness upload, for all we know. These are things that are available now. They're just not being used overtly against particular parts of the population. What I'm saying is the type of dystopia that we could fall into is a scientific dictatorship, a technocracy, where the weapons of what we have available and what is to come is used in a full-blown way, justified against the particular population. I think it is very possible. That's what I mean by darker than we've ever seen before. I'm talking about a form of control, of subjugation, of a destruction of free will, of a servitude and a slavery that people won't even know they're under. And this is what Huxley called it a concentration camp of the mind. He said that it was Bertrand Russell said injections, injunctions, diet will all combine to create a particular type of consciousness that would not only be thankful for his servitude, but would never have the faculties to be able to question it or question the authority. That's what I mean by when I say a type of dystopia that we can potentially see ourselves with. And I'm not trying to I'm not trying to like be fear porty here. I just think it's important to recognize. Do we want 1,000 years of peace, or do we want this type of slavery? And I just think we have a proper opportunity at this point. See, like Sheeple says, Cathexis, so many people believe the book, but have no idea about the Christians pulling out and putting back in Revelation, revaluation, so many times because they knew it wasn't supposed to be part of the Bible. Absolutely. It was about 20 different times Revelations was taken out and put it back in. Horse wearing costume, people costume. Most slaves do not know they're slaves. Absolutely. So we have before us an opportunity. Let us continue to raise our consciousness. Let us go within. Let us connect with our Creator. Let us love unconditionally. Let us understand interactions amongst our fellow man better, and let us help them as best as we can. And let us continue to grow in our intellect and our consciousness. Now is the time to do it. As we bow and bathe in our collective oculus. Nice, D-Wave. So, I want to thank everybody tonight. Quickly, I'll speak on the Mandela effect. I think it's a collective misremembering of things. There are some ones that are interesting, but I think that there's nothing along the lines of, D-Wave and CERN or manipulating the fabric of space-time continuum and my timeline split off, bro, and I got an alternative timeline. No, I don't see it. I think it's just collective misrememberings, and the conspiracy theory is fun, But you see, this goes into the whole Cass Sunstein, it's called cognitive infiltration. He was the information czar back in 2012, 2013, where he told Obama, hey, these guys on the internet, they're getting a little too loud about the Sandy Hook and Boston bombing thing. We need to get in there. We need to send some people in, and then we need to put a bunch of inerrant ideas out at the same time, and we need to, derail all of their intentions. And in 2014, what did we see pop up? The mainstream, through Neil deGrasse Tyson and Elon Musk and everyone, they were pushing simulation theory. And then on the conspiracy realm, you have Mandela and Flat Earth all pop up within the same month, practically. Now, think of those three things objectively. Flat Earth makes you question your physical reality. Mandela makes you question your internal thoughts, memories, and emotions on a axiomatic level. All right, you're doubting yourself. And then simulation theory makes you ultimately question your moral reality in a way, and then reality in general. All three of these combined, oh man, you've got a recipe to unravel a mind. And so I've always been very suspicious of these ideas from the beginning. I always considered Flat Earth to be, I don't know if you guys ever heard of the term, a limited hangout. It's like a known concept within, intelligence circles that state that it's basically like 80% truth, 20% false. Like people get too close to the truth, so what they do is they roll out, a bunch of the information. They're like, you got us, but yet they still manipulate it and they lie about 20% of the other stuff. So I think that we should be suspect of these things. Like, we should consider them to be potential psyops and used, because unfortunately it has been used negatively against the truther crowd. Now you're a globetard if you don't believe the earth is flat. Now you're a flat tard if you don't believe the earth is round. Now, if you don't believe the Mandela effect is real, you haven't done enough research. You know, it's this constant BS that happens that divides us more and more and more and more and more, and that's what I have a problem with. And I knew that from the beginning, and I was very concerned about. But anyways, I'm gonna wrap up here, guys. One, let's see, just a small thing, but it's funny. Inerrant means it's true. They were worried about too much truth, so they added more true information. Like Sheeple says, I definitely know about the books, but talking about 90% Christians who have never read the whole Bible that use Revelation, revaluation. I like you saying that, actually, if it's intentional or not. I think it's great. As the only book to condemn everybody to hell constantly. It's a psyop. Honestly, Revelation there is massive questions to as if John actually wrote it. Because during the Council of Nicaea is when this book popped up, essentially. Like, there's really no reference to it and before that time frame. And people suggest that there was a guy named Caiaphas, something like that. It starts with a C, C-Y, there have been styleologists that have reviewed John's work and several authors, and they've found that it fits more with this other author. And this guy was one of the members on the Council of Nicaea. And so I've thought that Jesuit futurism, this future 7-year tribulation, and you know what Revelations is saying, I've thought for a very long time that it could be a psyop of terror, you know, in the minds of believers. You know, if you believe that you're going to get raptured, okay, and then you believe the 7-year tribulation began, and you're a preacher rapturist, now you are like, shit, I didn't get raptured. But yet you think the 7-year tribulation is on. They're like, well, maybe it's mid-trib. Maybe I was wrong. Okay, I'll hold out and we'll see what happens at the abomination of desolation moment. And you go and you see wars and rumors of war and pestilence and drought and all of these things ramp up. Because guess who's got their hands on the levers, guys? And exactly, unless it already happened in 70 AD. Preach, brother. That's what I'm talking about. And that's why I appreciate the Praetor's view, the historicist view. This is why I think it's so important. Wait a second. What am I talking out of my esoteric behind on right now, Horse? And seriously, Horse, I really appreciate you participating tonight. You've shown me a new side of yourself. I mean, really, I think it's really cool that you know this stuff and you care to listen. But anyways, I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna eat some food and get to bed. I'm gonna, you know, I like these live things. It's really exciting having you guys be in here. Seriously, I really appreciate the interaction. I think I'll set up my OBS software to do, you know, so I can put the live chat on the, you know, on the board so people can see it and stuff. But yeah, nothing but respect for you guys. Seriously, you know, it's 30 people watching, but it's 30 people who are interested in what I have to say, and it really means a lot. You know, even if I get 500 views, I mean, it's, you know, I'm not like in this for all that nonsense. I care about connecting to the seekers and exchanging information with other people who wish to have this stuff in mind. But much respect, Solomon. Big ups to you, dude. We got to talk soon. Fuck Skype. I can't stand it. Seriously, my shit got messed up because of Skype too. But we got to talk soon. ADR, so much respect. You're the first person I talked to out here. Seriously, man, it's great to see you still out here. Mike, Wake Sheeple, I appreciate your input always. Jason, appreciate you coming by tonight. Assalamu alaikum. Lamp Shadiest, thank you so much for your interaction. Horse wearing people costume. You've now won my favor. Like, seriously, I think it's awesome that you came here and had this great conversation. D-Wave Surfer, shout out. And then earlier, of course, we had a vet and so many good people here tonight. So I want to thank everybody. Seriously, it means a lot. And I think I might I just have to come up with some topics. So how about this? If you're listening to this right now, once this video posts, put some topics in the comment section and say, I'd like you to discuss these things. And then when I think once I get rolling, you know, after I get 2 or 3 of these videos under my belt, I could have enough, you know, that we can start branching out. And if you guys want to come on here in any way, shape, or form, let me know and we will, I'll arrange it and we could have a good conversation. So I really care more about the esoteric, the spiritual, the religious aspects. And right now, I really don't care about the shape of the earth anymore. I don't, and I care about geocentricity is really the main thing out of that conversation. I care about scientism being exposed for what it is. But I don't have any new information, nothing in my purview. The only thing I've been really researching is these spiritual systems and concepts, and I've got 30 books over here that I'm trying to read because the good old Plutonic has just been hooking me up with so much information. It's crazy. But yeah, much respect to all. And Lamp Shadius, we will cover this Luciferian stuff here because this is a really big important thing to recognize, especially as you're talking about moving into this new age. People say the new age is Luciferian doctrine. Who is Lucifer? What is Lucifer? What is the archetype Lucifer? What is its relation to Prometheus? Is it the great Satan? Is it the great or is Satan another entity, or is Satan just mean adjective? It's an adjective that means the adversary. These are all questions we all need to come to terms with, and I appreciate your input. We will then touch on them very soon. Oh, shout out Wanda, thank you so much. Dave Sims, oh gosh, the Gerard info. Oh, dude, I feel like such a dick, Dave. Yeah, I want to get some info about those other books. I know he's got like 2 others. Sorry, I haven't got in touch with you. I don't know if I gave you that email address, but here, I'll give it to you again. Sorry, Dave. I know you've hit me up on multiple occasions about that. So, anyways, seriously, much respect all. Peace to the seekers and the founders, because we got a couple founders around here. Much love and respect. Seriously, I can't thank you guys enough. And we'll go ahead and finish up here. Take care.
The turning of the stars bring a time when my secret can give you immortality. But when that time is past, those fleeting minutes gone, the secret is worthless. Till once again the stars unlock its power.